Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Today we address a dramatic question facing the country on Saturday, the 13th of May. What is the message Karnataka has sent to the rest of the country after that stunning victory for her Congress party? Joining me to answer this issue is one of India's most highly rated political commentators and arguably the country's best-known modern historian, Ramachandra Guha. Ram Guha, let's start with how the three parties have performed before we examine the issues that determined the outcome and the way different communities have voted. It seems Congress has comfortably crossed 135 seats. In fact, the channels are saying that as of 4 o'clock, its tally is 137, which would be not just its best performance this century, but even better than 1999 when it won 132 seats. Given that the party at the moment is down in the dumps nationally, how significant is this victory in Karnataka?
So, Karan, before I answer that, I'd like to tell your viewers that apart from anything else, I'm a resident and voter of Karnataka. So, obviously, this election means a great deal to me personally. Though in this interview, I will analyze it, I hope, objectively, dispassionately, as a historian and scholar should. So, to come to your question, it's a very important victory for the Congress party. Arguably, in fact, inarguably the most significant victory they've won since 2014. They have won several states, for example, in Chhattisgarh, in Rajasthan and Himachal, which have a history of anti-incumbency. But they've, at the same time, they've suffered a series of major defeats, including in general elections, including in states where they often come back to power, such as in Kerala. So I think it's a very impressive victory, a substantial victory. It will give the Congress cadres across the country some energy, some enthusiasm, some stiffening of their spine. So beyond Karnataka, it's good news. Even beyond Karnataka, it's good news for the Congress party.
Now, Congress spokesperson are already starting to give credit to Rahul Gandhi and to the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Yogendra Yadav has actually issued a tweet showing that in constituencies where the Yatra traveled, Congress more or less swept. Do you accept that the credit mainly goes to Rahul Gandhi in the Yatra, or do you think it should actually go to two people who nationwide haven't been recognized, D.K. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah?
Well, I saw Yogendra Yadav's tweet. I have great respect for him. He's also a personal friend, but he has been a scholar. So he should know that correlation is not causation. For example, after the Congress won in Himachal, several people tweeted saying the Congress won because Rahul Gandhi did not campaign there. And he's, of course, the BJP's ally in Himachal. Now, to make the reverse assessment here is frankly absurd. It is true that the Bharat Jodo Yatra passed through parts of Karnataka. It may have had an impact, but even in those constituencies, it passed through less than 10% of the constituencies in Karnataka. Even in those constituencies, for someone as learned and well-informed as Yogendra Yadav to discount anti-incumbency, corruption, price rise, the vigor of the local leadership, I think is disappointing. the Bharat Jodha Yatra may have had a modest contribution, but a modest one. Certainly less than 10%, if that. I think it is not just the local leadership, but also the sheer corruption and incompetence of the incumbent BJP regime that is crucial in understanding this. And the Congress leadership, the collective Congress leadership, and some individuals we can talk about later, were alert to the ways in which the BJP was incompetent and malevolent, and focused on them, on the charges by contractors about corruption, on the fact that they were taking orders from Delhi, and Bombay could not even appoint a lowly cabinet minister without going to consult Amit Shah 10 times. So then of course issues of regional pride. The fact that Amul was welcomed by the Karnataka government as competition to a major local cooperative brand. So I think the local Congress leadership, and we can take names later on in this program perhaps, were very quick to seize on the failures and the weaknesses of the BJP, and then an extremely focused and effective campaign.
So if I read you correctly, you're saying the local Congress leadership deserves the first measure of credit, and amongst that leadership, at the front would be D.K. Shivakumar, the Congress party president, and Sitaramaiah, the legislature party leader.
Those two would be the first two, but there will be others. So certainly Mr. Kharge, because he's a Kannadiga who's president of the party, and that may be the reason they've done, one of the reasons, again, not the only reason, but one of the reasons they've done well in the Hyderabad Carnatic. Lingat leaders like M.B. Patil, who were able to wean away some element of the Lingat vote, and several others who I'm not naming because there would be too many humans to name. But I think it's very interesting that Sitaramaiah and Shiv Kumar worked together. They were the twin faces of the campaign, and of course you had other people also active in the party who were aiding and assisting them.
Let's come to the BJP. There was a time when Amit Shah was predicting 150 seats for the party. The BJP has ended up with, in fact, 63, reading from the channels as I speak to you at 4:06 in the afternoon. And that is considerably less than half the Congress tally. Given that Karnataka is meant to be the BJP's gateway to South India, how significant is this shattering defeat?
It's a humiliating defeat. It's a defeat for the party as a whole. It's a defeat for the Karnataka unit of the BJP. It's a defeat for the Prime Minister. And it's also a defeat for Amit Shah, because Amit Shah essentially orchestrated, coordinated, directed, micromanaged this campaign. So to be reduced to 60 odd seats is an absolute humiliation. And it means that the whole of South India is BJP Mukht, which is quite striking. So a large part of the country that is the most economically dynamic, that is the most socially progressive, which is much less patriarchal, much less communal, much more open to scientific research and innovation, to entrepreneurship, is completely outside the realm of the BJP. So it's a humiliating defeat, organizationally as well as individually, for the Prime Minister and the Home Minister.
Let's focus a bit on the Prime Minister. It was said that the big winner for the BJP would be Narendra Modi. I'm told he held over 20 rallies, and then there were those two very large, more or less spectacular roadshows held in Bangalore last weekend. And in every speech that he gave, he talked about the importance of what he calls double-engine Sarkar. Does the Karnataka results suggest that the Modi appeal is fading, or would that be a hasty conclusion at this point?
Well, it certainly did not work at all in Karnataka. So he was the face of the campaign. On the day of voting, 10th May, our local newspapers carried two big ads. One issued by the BJP with Modi's picture center and front everywhere. One carried, taken out by the Congress, which had only Sitaramaiah and Shiv Kumar in that ad. So the Gandhi family were absent. So Modi was on the ballot, and against him were these two local leaders, not the Gandhis. And in that sense, he was, the face. He was extracting his popularity. He was the road shows, which were partly genuine, partly orchestrated. The crowds, maybe deluded him and his party. He was tweeting exuberantly and saying, "I am so grateful for the love and affection that the people of Karnataka are giving me." As it turned out, even in Bangalore, where these roadshows were held, the Congress and the BJP ended up even, I think at 14 seats each as we speak. So I think it is a personal loss for him, because he staked so much of his personality and his character and his charisma, which none of which really worked very much.
Let's focus a little on the so-called impact the Prime Minister had in Bangalore, where he did those two road shows. Last time, I think I'm right in saying the BJP had 17 of Bangalore's 28 seats. They are reduced to 14, which is literally the same as Congress. Now, Mr. Modi held those spectacular road shows, holding up traffic, and some people were irritated by the fact that it would affect children going for their exams. On the other hand, Rahul Gandhi hitched rides on scooters as a pillion passenger. He traveled on buses and metros as an ordinary human being. Do you think the contrast between the two was noted by people of Bangalore, or is that really essentially just a press story?
No, it is, to some extent it may have been noted. But, I think there's some very strong local MLAs in Bangalore. There's some heavyweights of the Congress party. Krishna Baira Gowda, Dinesh Gundu Rao, Ramalinga Reddy, N.A. Harris. These are people with not just KJ George, decades of service, but also very well connected and actually also often deep pockets, So whether Modi or Rahul Gandhi had come, they might still have won. But incrementally, yes, to go from 11 or 10 to 14 is an improvement. And possibly to that, in a modest extent, Rahul Gandhi may have contributed. But certainly it's a defeat. Whether this election is any kind of victory for Rahul Gandhi is very much open to question. But whether it is a defeat for Modi, it's a shut question. It is. Absolutely it is, and an emphatic one.
Now, the party that has surely emerged as the loser is the JDS. Their vote share has fallen by somewhere between 5 and 6%. Their seat share has shrunk from 37 to 20 as of 4:15 this afternoon. And even Kumaraswamy's son has lost from the family borough, where I gather his mother vacated the seat so he could fight, but he's lost it. Yeah. Are we beginning to see the end of the JDS?
Very likely. If that is the case, I'm not shedding any tears, and nor are most Kannadigas and nor are most Democrats, because it's an extremely nepotistic party with widespread allegations of corruption. It's completely opportunistic. Even when the day before, Mr. Kumaraswamy went mysteriously to Singapore, which he likes to go when he thinks there's a place he likes to go when he thinks there's a hung assembly. And he said, we'll go with anyone who meets our conditions. And generally we know what these conditions are. They are not social harmony, women's emancipation, environmental sustainability, starting a new IIT. Those are not his conditions. They are something much darker and dangerous. I don't have to spell it out. So absolutely, I think it'll steadily decline. Deve Gowda in his prime had a following. And this is even before he became Prime Minister, because he was a capable farmers leader. He was actually a good administrator as Chief Minister. And then he became the first Karnataka Prime Minister. So he had a following, he had an appeal, he had certain cachet. Tragically, he made it a family party. Interestingly, for your viewers should know this, and allow me 30 seconds to explain this, Karan. In the years that Deve Gowda was building the JDS, and before that the Janata Party with Ramakrishna Hegde, Siddaramaiah was his second in command, and was finance minister, deputy chief minister, and by all logic and decency should have succeeded Deve Gowda, instead of which Deve Gowda shunned aside the capable and loyal Siddaramaiah and anointed his son, which is when Siddaramaiah shifted to the Congress, because he'd been treated so cruelly and harshly. So I think good riddance to the JDS. They may die a slow death, but it'll be an unmourned death.
Let's come at this point, Ram Guha, to the issues in the election. Mr. Modi raised Bajrang Bali in a huge way. Earlier, over the last few years, the BJP has talked about Tipu Sultan, they've talked about halal, they've talked about hijab. This time, out of 224 candidates, the BJP did not field a single Muslim candidate, although I believe Muslims are 12% of the state's population. They didn't even field a Christian. Do these results, where the BJP has shrunk to just 63 seats, show that Karnataka has fairly firmly slammed the door on Hindutva?
Yes, absolutely. And this is for the last 2 years, I wrote a piece in the Telegraph a few weeks ago pointing out, for the last 2 years, Amit Shah has orchestrated a polarizing campaign. So hijab, halal, azan, Tipu Sultan, the fictitious invention of two Gowda chieftains, Uri Gowda and Nanjan Gowda, who allegedly murdered Tipu Sultan. All of this was really Amit Shah's doing. His speeches in here were all that. And then Modi, of course, did not do it in the beginning. But in the last stretch, out of desperation, it became Bajrang Bali. It became blatantly communalized. I mean, it was shocking that the Election Commission did not hold the Prime Minister account. I mean, it's deeply, deeply dismaying. It shows how, spineless the Election Commission is in these matters. But the people of Karnataka, by and large, rejected it. And maybe, in some parts of northern and western of India, this hateful communal poison works for the BJP. And in states like UP and Gujarat, it has in the past worked. So they thought, all of us are the same. And that's part of, how they think. Either all of us are the same, or all of us can be made to think the same, the way they want to mold us. And I think clearly Kannadigas were not prepared for that.
Let me remind the audience of what the Prime Minister said repeatedly, loudly, and with enormous passion, sometimes even anger, in those last 3 days of campaigning. He said, "Jab button badaoge, Bajrang Bali bol ke kaho, Jai Bajrang Bali bol ke button dabao." Quite clearly, Kannadigas did press that election button, but not Jai Bajrang Bali bol ke.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Now that, in a sense, is something the country will remember, because that was a clear appeal to religion.
Yeah, and it's a relief that this has happened this way, because we do not want communal polarization. By the way, I mentioned Amit Shah, but there's an older history of the BJP trying to make Karnataka the Hindutva laboratory. There was the Eidgah Maidan in Hubli, where they wanted to insist on the stopping of prayers and the hoisting of the national flag. There is a syncretic shrine in Chikmagalur in the Baba Budangiri Hills, where a Sufi saint and a Hindu saint are worshipped together, and they wanted to kick the Muslim devotees and the Muslim grave out of it. And so there's an older history. They have thought that as compared to Kerala and Tamil Nadu, communal polarization and hateful Hindutva politics will get more play in Karnataka. But this time at least, it hasn't, and I'm delighted as someone who believes that every religion must be, that religious peace and social harmony are crucial to India's economic development and indeed to our moral fiber as a civilization. I am delighted that this didn't work.
Now, Congress, on the other hand, fought the election on a range of welfare measures offered to different sections of the voters, as well as on the issue of BJP corruption. Since this campaign has given the party over 135 seats, does this mean that bread and butter issues and local concerns are the best response to the BJP's appeal in terms of Hindutva or nationalism? Is this the answer for the future?
Current things will vary state by state. In UP and Gujarat, as I said, Hindutva pride and stigmatizing and demonizing Muslims may pay much greater dividends than in Karnataka. When you talk about welfare, in Karnataka, there is a very recent memory of the Congress government of 2013-18, led by Siddaramaiah, which was quite effective in delivering welfare measures, and people remember that. And since he was, if not the explicit chief ministerial candidate, certainly one of the more important leaders fronting this campaign, and he is seen as someone who cares and empathizes with the poor, the victimized, the suffering, regardless of religion, and has conveyed that empathy and care in pragmatic government policies in the past. This memory was there. And if they compared that period with the 5 years of the BJP, first under Mr. Yediyurappa briefly, and then under Mr. Bombay, where there was misgovernance, maladministration, and corruption and communalism, the choice was clear.
But would you agree?
But whether it will work in every state in the same way, it's impossible. India is too diverse, and each state has its own dynamics and history.
Would you agree with this? the very specific local issues that were raised in Karnataka may not apply and probably will not apply to other states. But if in those other states, when elections happen, Congress can tap into the local issues that matter there, the local concerns that worry the people there, that might be the way of contrasting and contesting BJP's Hindutva and nationalism.
Yes, and in addition to that, if they can do what they did in Karnataka, which is empower and trust local leaders, credible local leaders. I think that's something they should do in state after state, rather than imposing a high command culture.
In other words, find the DK Shivakumars and the Sida Ramayas in local states where elections are being held.
Yeah, and they are there. It's not as if they aren't there.
Let's now come to the way different communities voted. First, the Lingayats were always considered a BJP stronghold. And although the BJP Lingayat vote share has not come down, Congress has still won a preponderant majority of what are called Lingayat states. Is this because they crafted a coalition of other sections of voters, like the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the Muslims, the Kurubas, and other small communities? Many people believe that this was the secret that lies behind Congress winning a majority of the Lingayat seats. Would you agree?
It's too early to answer that. One will have to carefully pass the results. It may indeed be the case that the surveys are not representative. They're done very quickly with a small sample. It may indeed be the case, and it would not surprise me if the Congress did win a larger share of the Lingayat vote than previously. It is also the case that the BJP did not win simply because of the Lingayat vote. It just so happened that their most credible leader was a Lingayat B.S. Yediyurappa, who was also widely trusted by other communities, including by Muslims. Incidentally, B.S. Yediyurappa is non-communal. He has other flaws. He is nepotistic. There are widespread allegations of corruption against him. But he's unusual in the Karnataka BJP, indeed possibly in the All India BJP in being not communal. And he was aghast by this, privately he was aghast by this halal, hijab, azan, Tipu Sultan stuff. And in the past he has praised Tipu Sultan. And 2 days before the election, recognizing that that Hindutva was going to horrifically backfire, he said Hindus and Muslims are like brothers. Now, can you imagine that statement emerging from any other BJP leader? So I think the BJP has paid heavily for undermining, humiliating, distrusting Yediyurappa. He went along because, as I said, while he may be non-communal, he's also nepotistic, and he was hoping that there's some safe perch for his son will emerge. And maybe he did not want to offend Modi and Shah, because we know sometimes what the consequences of that are. But I think the caste question is complicated on the Lingayat side. On the Vokaliga side too, it's probably complicated because it was split 3 ways. We don't know in what proportion between the Congress, the JDS, and the BJP. But Kurubas and Muslims, who are both quite numerous, would have voted overwhelmingly for the Congress. That would be quite clear. I think that's so far the only, in terms of caste and community patterns of voting, that's probably the only conclusion we can draw at this stage. Maybe with more deeper research, you'll get more interesting answers.
Now, something else that the channels are pointing out is that Congress has done extremely well in Old Mysuru and also in what's called the Mumbai Karnataka region. Is this explained by anti-incumbency, or is it a sign that the voters were not just receptive to, but attracted by what Congress is offering?
It was a sign of these, and it was a sign of the fact that the three major leaders of the local Congress party, 2 come from Old Mysore, Siddaramaiah and DK Shivkumar, and Mr. Kharge, who's now president of the All India Party, comes from Hyderabad, Karnataka. So I think 2 of them have charisma. One has now national authority, which no Karnataka has had for a very long time. Let alone a Karnataka congressman. So again, these would have to await detailed study. But I think the leadership, the presence of important, influential, and credible leaders from these regions in the Congress and their active role in the campaign. Again, I stress, Karnataka leaders, their active role in the campaign would have played an important role.
Now, the big question facing the Congress party is who will be its chief minister in Karnataka. On the one hand, there's DK Shivakumar. He's the state party president. He's won over by a lakh in his own constituency, and he's reported to have said that he won't let a Sachin pilot happen to him. On the other hand, there's Sida Ramayya, probably the man who best represents the coalition of communities that has supported and brought Congress to power. And some reports suggest that, in fact, he's more popular across the state than Shivakumar. How difficult will it be for Congress to choose a chief minister? And could it split in the process the way the party has in Chhattisgarh and is already splitting in Rajasthan?
Well, we'll know in the days to come, but let me make a few quick comments. Firstly, it may be that some commentators in Delhi have misinterpreted the remark of Mr. Shivkumar, I will not be another Sachin pilot. What he may be saying is, I will follow party discipline. I will not split the party and take 20, 30 MLAs. He may be actually saying that. We don't know. That's the first thing. Siddaramaiah is clearly the most popular leader in the state across parties. The Congress party knows this. And he should, by all rights, he was a very good chief, not a very good, but a reasonably good chief minister in his first term. And by all accounts, he should be appointed chief minister. If he is, I'm sure Mr. Shivkumar will get an important role. It could be deputy chief minister. It could be several important cabinet portfolios. We'll have to wait and see. But given that the numbers, it's 136 or whatever, I think a rebellion seems very unlikely. I think, I think Mr. Shivkumar may be happy to wait his turn. Mr. Ramaya has already said this is his last election. So, if the BJP's decline and the JDS's decline in Karnataka continues, it's possible that in 5 years' time, Mr. Shivkumar will still be only in his 60s, will have his turn. So I think, let's wait and see, but I think it's unlikely that there'll be any kind of split, given that they are 136. If it was 110, 115, just short of a majority, then of course, different kinds of things would happen.
Now, Mallikarjun Kharge, the Congress president, has said that the High Command will decide who the chief minister is. And some channels say that, in fact, he spoke about Sonia and Rahul Gandhi deciding. If that happens, would it be a mistake, or might it be the best way of solving a tricky choice?
No, I can't say. I mean, Siddaramaiah said clearly the MLAs will decide. I think Shivkumar has also said that. I mean, it's not inconceivable that Mr. Kharge himself may harbor a small residual ambition to be chief minister. I mean, there's several times when he's been passed over in the state when he was actually a good candidate. He knows that chief minister of Karnataka has much more authority than president of the Congress party. I think you know what I mean. And he would be a compromise candidate. So it's like, let's see. But I think at the moment, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would place a bet on Siddaramaiah becoming chief minister.
The thought that you voiced that Mr. Kharge might take the job himself would mean that the Congress presidency will open up. Might that be a way of opening the job for Rahul Gandhi without having an election?
Well, I don't want to speculate too much, but let's wait and see what happens.
Now, a week before, or roughly a week before the elections, a BJP minister said that the party has what he called a plan B. He didn't specify what he meant, but most people assumed he was alluding to what's called Operation Lotus. Now that the Congress has won, and I'm looking up at the screen, it's 137, and the BJP is down to just 63. Can there be an Operation Lotus, or is it now just foolish talk?
No chance. So I think a minister said we have an operation. The Gandhi media channels, if I'm allowed to use that phrase on wire, the Gandhi media channels in the morning were speculating that Mr. Amit Shah is going to fly down to Bangalore this evening. Before the first seat was counted, because the BJP must have been hoping for a hung assembly. And if Mr. Amit Shah, who's home minister, was flying down to Bangalore in the case of a hung assembly, it was not about law and order. It was not about beefing up police stations. It was not about cyber security. It was about how to split the Congress by whatever means possible, because that's the method they followed in different states in the past. Now, if so, that didn't happen. Supposing the Congress was 114 are needed for a majority. Supposing it was 120, even then, Mr. Amit Shah would not have flown down. But 3 or 6 months down the road, there would have been an attempt to bring down the government, as happened successfully in Madhya Pradesh. So, I mean, the BJP is, even by the standards of Indian politics, a shockingly immoral and amoral party when it comes to these things. So nothing is beyond him.
Now, I know it would be foolish, Ram Guha, to extrapolate from the Karnataka results to the national elections of next year. But does Karnataka suggest some pointers for the elections that are going to happen in December in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh?
Well, those are much more important because in those states, in two of those states, the Congress is an incumbent. In Rajasthan, a very unpopular incumbent. In Chhattisgarh, possibly an incumbent with a reasonable chance, 40-50% of retaining power, with the chief minister in control. Madhya Pradesh, they are an adversary. I mean, so they are going against. Let's see. Those are three very important states because they together account for, I think, about 75 MPs. And there are also three states in which there is a direct fight between the BJP and the Congress. There are also states, certainly Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, in which the Bharat Jodo Yatra went. So it'll also be a test of this thesis, right? It'll also tell you, how energized and revitalized the Congress is, not just by the Bharat Jodo Yatra, but more importantly by their emphatic victory in Karnataka, which should give them hope and confidence and sustenance. But the BJP is very strong in those states. Mr. Modi's personal appeal in those states is much higher than it is in Karnataka, right? So we'll have to see. I mean, we'll really have to see what Karnataka presages for those three states and then later on for the general election. But for the time being, it is a very impressive and emphatic victory for the Congress party.
Finally, you believe this election in Karnataka can be compared to the West Bengal election of 2021. Can you explain what sort of comparison would that be?
So it would be both elections were fought by the BJP in terms of communal polarization. Jai Sri Ram in one case and Jai Bajrang Bali in the other. And not just slogans. I mean, the whole campaign in West Bengal, CAA, NRC was all about West Bengal, about throwing out Muslims and giving Hindus from Bangladesh citizenship rights, attacks on madrasas, attacks on mullahs, arguments that are not completely without merit, that Mamata Banerjee was a Muslim appeaser. So it was a totally communal campaign, one side. Other side, Modi's personality. You will recall that rally during COVID, where again, typically but dismayingly, the election commission abdicated its duties, allowed rallies, and in one of those rallies, looking at the crowd, Mr. Modi boasted, "Itna bada samaroh kabhi pehle mere liye nahi aaya hai." Right. So likewise in Karnataka, communal polarization, demonization of Muslims, and presenting Mr. Modi as a savior. Now, these are the two striking parallels I noted between these two elections, and there's a third parallel. In neither case did it work.
Ram Guha, thank you very much indeed. I think in many ways you've helped people understand what is that message that Karnataka sent the rest of the country today. I thank you for doing so.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.